Today, we begin our 3-round 2026 NFL mock draft. Just like the NFL draft, this is going to be split up into 2 days. Day 1 today, round 1. Day 2 tomorrow, rounds 2 and 3. And there is a bonus. This weekend, we're going to be dropping a continued 2027 NFL mock draft based on this. So, if you guys do want to enjoy that, you guys probably want to be invested for today and tomorrow as well. So let's get into this. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe if you guys are new. Being able to interact with you guys is the best part of this. So I actually really love it. Be a dick. Don't be a dick about it. I love to learn. If I make a mistake, I want to make it once. Blow my face with my board. Players I grade in all 22. If you guys want to see the full list, feel free to go over to the Patreon, $5 a month, get all the evaluations, get all these players. And if you guys want to stop having to do all the research yourself, I end up breaking down the best performers every single week for college, as well as break down every performance for a rookie in the NFL. So let's get into this. Let's have a great time. Have a great community over there as well. Number 1 overall, Tennessee Titans. I had to get the spiel out really quickly because I'm not even going to drop an ad in this. But at number 1 overall, I think this is the prime opportunity for the Titans to trade out. You guys see some changes to my board. It's the players I love in the order that I love them. Before we truly jump in, I do want to talk about some players that I will be considered as returning. Dante Moore being one of them, just based on what I have heard. Todd McShay is saying he's very, very confident that Moore already has pretty much agreed to go back to school. Sellers going to be part of that as well. Leavitt. And actually, Mateer will be in that equation as well. So those are going to be the big names from the quarterback group. I'm actually having Mensah come out in this based on his current performance. And then the only other big player I really want to talk about is returning is Jermod McCoy. He's a true junior, has not taken a rep this year. It's a pretty solid cornerback class, unless Brandon Cisse, which you guys are going to say it's crazy for me to have him there. Dane Brugler has him at 25. Todd McShay says he might be his top corner. So I'm glad I hopped on it before Todd ended up hopping on it. But I got to give a shout out to Dane there. Regardless, I just wanted to put that out there because I know I'm going to get a lot of comments about it. Now, you guys have no excuse. But number 1, we do see a shift in my top 10. I have a clear number 1 quarterback. And I've just been monitoring his performance as weeks go on. My biggest issue with Ty Simpson is the fact that he doesn't fully trust his eyes yet. He has to almost wait for confirmation. And you'll see it almost every time he makes a big time throw. It's kind of late. It's not late for college, but it'll be maybe a little bit late for NFL or, maybe just not opportune. But you'll see he waits, does an extra hitch, and then throws the ball. And it's like, trust your eyes. You're making the right decision. And again, in college, that works. In the NFL, if you have a right team, I think it will end up working out as well. But for the Titans, I think acquiring extra draft capital is super important. Right now, you have a good amount of picks, but I think there's a team that I talked about in yesterday's video, or 2 days ago, excuse me. Actually, might have been yesterday's video. And the Jets that are, A, building a lot of draft capital, but B, and more importantly, it's arguably the best team in this range with as bad of a record as they have. It's the best team to go to for a rookie quarterback. And here's why. You have a great offensive line. How often do you have 2 young tackles going to be within 2 years of starting their career? Going to be on your team for probably 10 years. You don't have to worry about a tackle at all. The interior of the offensive line, you have a lot of pieces there to where you don't have to worry about that either. So offensive line secured. This year, probably going to end up having a tag on Breece Hall. So you have your running game down, Braylon Allen, Breece Hall. Then you have wide receiver, Garrett Wilson. You're pretty much resting him for the rest of the year. You put him on IR today. And then A.D. Mitchell. A.D. Mitchell, super high ceiling player. You got him pretty much as a throw-in, and that's an amazing part of that deal. So I absolutely love that for y'all. Now, don't give up future capital in terms of a future, a 2027 first. Hold on to those for dear life. But I think for the Titans, this is a prime opportunity maybe to be able to rework the picks that you have. And for the Jets, you have multiple teams that will be very interested in moving up. And again, when Todd McShay says things, I pay attention. Is he the gospel? No, but he's a lot closer than I am. So I'm just going to throw that out there. Obviously, I think this would end up taking 5 and 32 to be part of this deal. And, part of me thinks that you could end up trying to rework your capital, throw in 44, get back 33. I don't think that for the sake of this, it makes a lot of sense. Do they not have 3 first-round picks? What happened to Dallas's pick? All right, we're going to hold on. We'll do that with the Jets in a second. I mean, I don't know why PFF did not adjust the 2027 first round pick there. At least they got Dallas's pick. But I do think, when you do have a pick number 37 as well, you're still within good striking range. For the Titans, you trade back to 5. I can guarantee you we're going to get a top tier wide receiver there and be perfectly happy. If not, we're still going to get a top tier edge rusher. Either way, I'm super happy. And then you get some extra talent here at 32 and 33, a ton of flexibility. And then again, for the Jets, this is a team where you might say it's like really bad. They have a ton of money and they have the hardest thing to get right, which is the offensive line. They have it pretty much down pat for the future. I'm going Ty Simpson here, a quarterback out of Alabama. Again, by far my QB1 at the moment. Fernando Mendoza brings a lot of experience, multiple programs, having success at each. He's still a very good quarterback and one that should be considered as a top 5 prospect. However, my biggest issue with Fernando Mendoza is the inconsistency. You'll see these great drives, but in the NFL, you need to have way more great drives than you need to have sloppy drives. And I've just seen way too many sloppy plays from Fernando Mendoza to believe that I would end up rolling the dice when I have a team like the Jets sitting there. And then I have also a lot of teams bidding for other quarterbacks. I'd go after the player who's been a lot more consistent, and you have the issues you see with Ty Simpson that can end up being game planned around, or just seeing him like you just know. It's kind of like the devil you know versus kind of like the devil you don't. Like with Ty, it's pretty much based on him trusting his eyes. That's his biggest issue, along with the experience. But, Todd McShay says he's the best quarterback in like 25 years of scouting that he's seen this early into his starting career. So, that has to hold some value. And Fernando Mendoza, it's not to shade him, but especially if we have Dante Moore, LaNorris Sellers returning in this, John Mateer, Sam Leavitt, like there's just going to be a much more limited option. I don't think anybody's going to be mad at that for the Jets, if I'm being real. Maybe the Titans fans would be the ones who get a little bit pissy. But at number 2 for the Saints, it's another spot where you absolutely could try to make a deal here for a team to jump up to 2. But again, you're not seeing multiple teams with multiple first-round picks to where they're going to try to make that move. You can talk about the Browns, but again, like you're not talking about the Raiders spending all their draft capital to move up for a quarterback while Pete Carroll most likely will still be the head coach. Like that's just not going to happen. So you're pretty much talking about Fernando Mendoza going here at number 4, and you don't really have many teams that are going to be pushing draft capital-wise to get up that high. Again, I think Ty Simpson's the hot commodity. Fernando Mendoza a little bit less. So at number 2, if you're going to maximize this for the Saints, I'm going to look at Ruben Bane here. You run a 3-4. Ruben Bane is somebody who could be a little bit more of a tweener. I think his best option is to lose a little bit. Now, granted, you can go Arvell Reese here and use him as a full-time edge. That is the beauty of having a 3-4 system, is that you can use him as an outside linebacker and he could be on the line and still have some linebacker properties to his game. Hold up now. I kind of like that. And again, linebacker hasn't been taken in the top 10 in the past 5 years. Granted, I think the last time there was one taken at number 5. All right. So let's not go crazy. But Arvell Reese also, it just depends on how consistent he is going to play on the line of scrimmage. Because right now it's about an even split. But if they continue to try to shift him to be on the line of scrimmage, and he is more of a full-time edge rusher, we saw Abdul Carter transition from linebacker to full-time edge last year. Arvell Reese could be a very similar mold. And so I do think that is a respectable range. And when you are in a 3-4 and this player is red hot, it's very similar to Ty Simpson. So much development this early on. It can't really be ignored. I'll go after Arvell Reese here. And I had a master plan of taking him here at 5 for the Titans, but I think Ruben Bane will be perfectly fine as a compensation. At number 3, we have the New York Giants. Again, this is a spot where you could try to see a team try to trade up for Fernando Mendoza. Again, like the Raiders particularly, Geno Smith is a terrorist. I feel like, call everybody, call the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, the CIA, call ICE, find a way to get Geno out of there. It's so funny. I see all these memes saying like, it's like a kitten running through the grass saying how it feels to blame certain group of people and Geno Smith for all my problems. And it's like, you got to admit, you guys have to have a sense of humor to be able to understand that. But, it's definitely something that I find funny. But regardless, I don't think the Dolphins have the draft capital right now to be able to makes sense of a move up like this, especially when you can end up building the floor of your team and end up actually having, you know, a team that is worth dropping a quarterback into. So it really is down to the Raiders and the Browns for this. And I just don't think the value for the Raiders, especially even think about this for the Giants, right? For this pick range, you're probably going to get a second round pick, maybe a future third as well. For the Giants, I mean, like, I feel pretty damn comfortable with this pick range. Like, that third round pick would be nice. Maybe a future second would be nice. But at the same time, you're instantly dropping below a team that needs a top tier wide receiver. And that's what I'm targeting for the Giants here at number 3. So it's like, do you want to get a second and a third round pick to get your sloppy seconds between Carnell Tate and Jordan Tyson? A lot of people would say yes. And I think that's fair. But at the same time, I don't know if the Raiders want to do that, because let's look really quickly at the Raiders picks. By the way, I do need to send Dallas's future one. Don't worry, it's not in the mock draft simulator. I'm doing the graphics myself, so it will not affect that. But the Raiders here, they don't have that many bad picks. I totally forgot about Jacksonville's pick that they sent. I think the Raiders have too many issues. That's my biggest problem, is that they have like a lot of issues. To where I also don't think Pete's going to move up for his quarterback. So I was thinking about it, trying to big brain it. Not going to happen. We're going to go after a wide receiver here. And the question is Carnell Tate or Jordan Tyson. I think Carnell Tate's role on the Giants would be perfectly fine, perfectly reasonable. But I do think if you're debating between Jordan Tyson and Carnell Tate, the one that would differentiate from Malik Nabers the most, and provide the most value, in my opinion, would be Jordan Tyson. Carnell Tate brings a lot of the positive traits that Malik does, in my opinion, in terms of that deep threat ability that Jordan Tyson is not necessarily known for. But Tyson's a standard X. You can't make an argument against Carnell Tate. All right. I'm just trying to give you guys a reason why I'm going to go Tyson rather than saying Carnell Tate's a bad pick. Like, I think there's more value with Jordan Tyson if he remains healthy. Because I do think this is a short range separator who can separate at all levels of the field, of course, but somebody who you're going to be able to use at all levels rather than, with Carnell, he's an amazing route runner for 6'3". I think Jordan Tyson is just a different level of polish than pretty much any wide receiver that I've graded this year. And again, I'm pretty much just nitpicking here. You can go either route and be fine. I'm just saying Jordan Tyson to me is just polished beyond belief. And that's why he's going at number 3. Number 4 for the Cleveland Browns. I tried my best to screw over the Browns. You guys know how I do things. We're going to be going Fernando Mendoza here at number 4. Again, if you guys did not, honestly, I need to start just putting this in the description so I can get mad at people and just point them there. Dante Moore, LaNorris Sellers, Sam Leavitt, John Batier, those two don't matter. But those two that people can consider in this range, especially Dante Moore, considered returning in this for our 2027 mock draft video coming on this weekend. Super excited for that. But Fernando Mendoza is going to be the pick. Again, somebody who is also showing that he's having some good prowess in the Big Ten climate. We'll see what happens when the weather gets colder, but Big Ten, bit of a step up from where he was at Cal, and he's going to be a really good asset for you guys to have going forward. They show no loyalty at all to Shedeur Sanders. Should they? That's where you guys can debate, but the reality of the situation is they're going to look at a QB, and there you go. At number 5 for the Tennessee Titans, it's between Ruben Bane and Carnell Tate. And with 32 and 33, I feel very comfortable with possibly trying to trade up and like maybe do some pick recomping to go after one of these receivers if we want to. I don't think you can go the wrong route, but to me, I love Ruben Bane to this team because it's just such a high floor player that you just bring onto a team. And maybe he won't be the best edge rusher in history, the way that his numbers in college are trying to suggest. I got to see him in person versus SMU. I don't necessarily think that he popped off as like a generational talent. However, I do think it brings stability to a pretty unstable defense. Now, if you go offense here, you're investing in your offensive side, which is great. I mean, I think there's a lot of value to be had with that. But at the same time, I do think it's very important for us to maybe try to manipulate the board a little bit, 32 and 33. Maybe try to make a deal with the Browns at 19. We'll see what happens there. I'm just throwing ideas out. But I do know that wide receivers will be more acquirable for a similar value to Tate than necessarily Ruben Bane. And I love Malachi Lawrence. You guys see the star there. That means he's most likely going to drop with reevaluation, even though he's been doing a phenomenal job. We're going to go Ruben Bane Jr. here, edge rusher out of Miami. We got that extra first-round pick. Still got ourselves a very, very talented edge rusher to just build around on the defense. You already have a great interior defensive line. Femi Oladejo, as he continues to get more seasoned and more polished, you can end up having a little bit of lightning and thunder with those two. And number 6 for the Las Vegas Raiders, you're in a good spot because Caleb Downs, Peter Woods, those are kind of the ideal options here. Again, Dante Moore returning, but returning in this video for the sake of this, but also based on, what everybody is starting to believe in the community of people who know. I would say I'd be open to Mansour Delane, Brandon Cisse. Like, those are guys who I would stick my neck behind, especially in the secondary. And, to be fair, this team hasn't really done a great job at playing players from their secondary. But I do know that Pete Carroll, if I'm not mistaken, was the one to trade 2 firsts for Jamal Adams. So he does value safety very highly. Your defensive back core definitely needs it. Defensive interior and safety are both positions that you could try to target down the board to where it's like, you can't really say, oh, you can get a good safety round 2, or, oh, you can get a good defensive interior round 2. You could do it for both. All right. Like, that's not a reasoning for one over the other. And I have them respectively at 1 and 2. I don't think you can go wrong here. But I do think that Caleb Downs is more uniquely talented in the fact that he has been dominant every single year that he's played. Peter Woods has a little bit more inconsistency to his game. Caleb Downs is just the definition of consistency. And again, I'm nitpicking between 1 and 2 here, but I'm going to go after Caleb Downs. I don't think there's a player that teams would trade up for. You guys might say, oh, trade down, get Caleb Downs. I respect it. I understand. It's not going to happen, but Caleb Downs is going to be the selection there out of The Ohio State University. And number 7 for the Miami Dolphins. Again, not a player where you can try to trade down. I would love to maybe try to recomp some picks. Again, very similar to what the Titans are doing. You can end up moving down the board and shuffle some things around. But, Peter Woods is the best player available here. I don't see many teams that are genuinely threatening to move up for him or genuinely threatening to take him to where it's I don't necessarily love the value here. So I'm going to do what's best, which is go best player available. This team definitely has an offensive focus. And with Carnell Tate available here at number 7, with the way wide receivers will translate into the NFL, it makes a ton of sense. Tyreek Hill, bye-bye, unfortunately. But, you do need to have a true X receiver. Carnell Tate is reliable downfield, 90% contested catch percentage this year, which is phenomenal. But on top of that, has good deep speed, has polished up so much, and that development curve is something you bet on. So we're going to go after Carnell Tate, wide receiver out of The Ohio State for the Miami Dolphins. And number 8 for the Washington Commanders. I honestly am looking at corner here. Again, I just don't really see a team that wants to move up for Peter Woods. How many teams are that desperate for Peter Woods? I'm saying he's a great talent, but the range that you have to move up, Rams, no. Bengals, some people would argue it, but I'm still going to go no. And then, to be fair, part of me is willing to move down here, but my only issue is that the Rams would be sniping a corner. My goal for the Commanders is to go corner. I was thinking maybe the Cardinals could try to jump the Rams for an offensive tackle here because I know the Bengals do not trade. They're just pretty. They have their own issues. Let's not even go into that. But the range of trade for the Cardinals would be a little bit interesting. To be fair, it's not that expensive to make this move. Let's take a quick peek at the Cardinals because right tackle is a big issue for them. I think a 3rd round pick would get this done. And I already know it's hey, we have too many issues. You guys need pretty much a Mike, a right tackle, and a deep threat receiver. And I know you guys are going to say a quarterback. I think that, it's understandable. With the quarterbacks that are returning in this class, maybe in my 2027 video, you might end up getting one. So just keep your eye out for that. But for the Commanders, I would be doing everything I can. Even if this is, I think it still is a little bit of an undersell because 15 to 17 is 120. I think for the Commanders, getting this pick value is just you need to do it. And for the Cardinals, again, not only are you getting a position you desperately need, but on top of that, it is super duper crucial to understand that you're jumping the Rams for a player that is really valuable to them. So I'm going to do that. We got the Cardinals making the move with the Commanders, and the Cardinals end up drafting Spencer Fano, right tackle out of Utah. Very happy about that, again, because it forces the Rams to now debate between fixing their right tackle problem, because I have some debating internally about KC Mauigoa, and then also the corner position. So very happy about that. At number 9, though, for the Cincinnati Bengals, I do think boundary corner, offensive line, those are the positions you need to focus on. I've said it ad nauseum in all my other episodes. I do not believe edge fits the Bengals criteria for any of these edge rushers. They care about a combination of measurables, RAS, and size. And, none of these players really have that. Like TJ Parker, shorter arms. Keldrick Faulk, not super high RAS. David Bailey, undersized. Cassius Howell, undersized. Romello Height, undersized. LT Overton, not going to have the RAS there, and also probably shorter arms. R. Mason Thomas, undersized. Quincy Rhodes, the first one in this list, but you can talk about Malachi Lawrence as the one who fits. Zion Young is one who fits. Denai Dennis Sutton as one who could probably fit. Like, these are players that you can try to target late 1, mid 2, which is what you have pick number 41 for. So I think that's going to be where you target your edge rusher, is there in round number 2. Again, you don't do trades. Historically, it's just kind of a team that sits and picks. You got to respect it, even if you don't like it. But boundary corner is a big issue to me. And again, Jermod McCoy considered returning in this. We're going to go Mansour Delane, defensive back out of LSU. He is phenomenal. My corner 1 coming into this year, still my corner 1 right now. He's been absolutely locked down. He's right there with Brandon Cisse as 2 of my blue chip players for the class. And I feel like I can trust my eyes I feel very comfortable with my eyes on cornerbacks. So very happy with that. And number 10 for the Los Angeles Rams. I mean, personally, this would be an interesting spot to try to make a deal again with Peter Woods available. Like, the question is, how much do you trust KC Mauigoa? And I think this is more of an indictment on the tackle class. I almost feel like you can't miss on him, and you can take some pot shots at 27 on corner like Colton Hood or Avieon Terrell, Keith Abney. I feel like some certain corners that maybe have more athletic deficiencies can work on the Rams based on their desire for some physicality and some higher IQ over just being a track athlete, compared to maybe some other teams that have their prospective desires. And I think the Rams are going to they have shown in the past, and they will continue to value offensive line talent. I don't trust Caleb Lamu or Tiernan to exactly be there at 27. And even if they are, it's just not worth the risk. So I'm going to go Francis Mauigoa here. Right tackle needs to be a priority for this team for the long haul. He passed the eye test for me when I saw him in person. And again, I feel like you have to make this move, because not many players, because those 2 players I just mentioned, Lamu, Tiernan, who I really like, both of them. Lamu, I like him more as a guard, but even if you think of him as a tackle, these are left tackles that have to transition to right. It's not just a guaranteed thing. It's a whole entire different set of mechanics. You're literally flipping everything that you are, trained to do naturally. So go after a player who you'll probably have similarly graded, if not higher, and end up going after somebody who is damn good at a position that is what you need, rather than trying to project what they could be at that position. At number 11 for the Washington Commanders, we've traded back enough to where you can start looking at TJ Parker in a very considerable manner. And honestly, I'm looking at Brandon Cisse and then also TJ Parker, and I think both are very, very good options for this team. Our next pick is at 72. And the question is, do we think we can end up getting good edge value at 72 or good corner value at 72? And I'm just going to be honest. This edge class has some dudes. I can promise you. Let's just project who's going to be there. First off, Romello Height's probably going to be there. I don't know. People are glazing Romello. He's 240 pounds in a DPR, designated pass rusher. NFL cares about not just being one role specific. It does matter. But you end up looking down the line. Gabe Akis, if you want to go someone a little bit heavier. Derek Moore. What a good option, by the way. Derek Moore, underrated pass rusher right here, 260 pounds. Just a very good player. In reality, Malachi Lawrence, probably could be there. He's 263, but with 35 edge arms. But, he is one of the best in the country at rushing the passer. He's the guy who you do see below my face where you're like, who the fuck is that? Another name that I actually asked Trev to put in here, as he needs to, because he has nothing better to do than listen to me with players I want to put on here. But also Wesley Williams, edge rusher out of Duke, is someone who I really like in that 3rd round range. So we're going to go after a player who is not listed on PFF's board. And we're going to, Jalen Kilgore could be a defensive back I take in round 3. I'm going to go after a player who I know I won't. And who do I want to give some love to? Not DJ Harvey. He burned me this year when he transitioned from San Jose State to USC. Who do I like? Devin Moore gets a lot of love, by the way. I need to watch him. We'll go after Rico Hallman. Rico Hallman is the placeholder. Big thing. Placeholder for my number 8 player on my board, Brandon Cisse, cornerback out of South Carolina. Number 25 on Dane Brugler's board. Freak athlete. I call him a suction cup, just like the way he literally sticks to wide receivers. Elite twitch. Like, he can fly. So, huge fan of him. Brandon Cisse, cornerback out of South Carolina, at number 11 for the Commanders. Number 12 for the Dallas Cowboys. I was debating, are we going to end up getting Cisse here, or are we going to go after TJ Parker? I felt like whatever was the falling out of the Commanders was what I'd feel comfortable with here. Granted, we don't have a 2nd round pick. And I think this is a good opportunity with Peter Woods available for teams to get a little bit more aggressive and go after a player who is actually dominant. And I'm looking at teams, and the Bears are a dark horse team to make a move for Peter Woods just because he's that dominant. Like, I'm looking, who the hell could use defensive interior? Honestly, the Niners are very underrated for going after someone like Peter Woods. Technically, you can also talk about the Panthers. Tershawn Wharton signed in the offseason, could end up having a hybrid role similar like Peter Woods. Again, the Texans have a lot of draft capital, and they like to move up and down the board. I know people say, like, oh, they don't necessarily need defensive interior that much. And it's not like the biggest issue in the world, but if you can end up getting a bona fide superstar on the defensive front, are you going to say no? I don't think so. So we're going to do that trade. Because again, with the Texans, I always run out of things to like actually draft for them based on the amount of picks they have. And again, for this, I'm going to end up giving pick number 47. Let's see. How are we going to handle this? So that'd be kind of crazy if I did 47 and 40 for 12, 20. That'd be fucking nuts. And I gave like a future of 1. That'd be crazy. But I do think that like 15 and 47 for 12 and a future 3rd can actually get it done. Because I think the Texans are going to try to recomp for the future. This will end up most likely being, pick number 70, right? So it's like 12 and 70 for 15, 47. I think that value there alone is, pretty good for the Cowboys. But again, you could toss in a future 6 here from Pittsburgh. Who gives a shit? But also, I do need to make a trade here with the Dallas Cowboys after the fact. We'll force the trade through. We'll end up getting the Dallas Cowboys future 1 sent to the why does it say Indianapolis? I'm tripping. We'll talk about that in a second. But regardless, Texans move up, draft Peter Woods. Again, we'll deal with the pick situation. I don't know what the fuck happened there for the Cowboys. At number 13 for the Baltimore Ravens, Peter Woods sniped in front of him. Big reason why I ended up having that trade up there. But for the Baltimore Ravens, TJ Parker is someone who I'm eyeing here. They've been looking for top-tier edge talent for a hot minute now. And, especially after seeing like Odafe Owe just leave their team and have so much more production for the Chargers, I do think they're going to start considering like, what are we going to do here? And I do think TJ Parker can be a big asset in that. His athleticism like kind of yields to being someone who's like a little bit more flexible in terms of his role. Really good technique, just more so putting the IQ in the game together. And personally, I think that this is a building block on your defensive front. So I'm going to go after it. TJ Parker, edge rusher out of Clemson. At number 14, Minnesota Vikings. Jeremiyah Love is here. It's a very popular pick. I personally want to make a move if I can. Here's my reason why I don't think the Chiefs would move up for Jeremiyah Love. They didn't want to send a 3rd for Breece Hall. This would take nearly a 3rd to move up. So it'd be a 3rd essentially and a 1st for a running back. That seems pretty unrealistic if you ask me. Just going to throw that out there. So I feel very comfortable with the Vikings going after BPA if they want to. There's top tier wide receivers available. Really good corners available. Probably what I'm going to go with for the Vikings because good corner talent is not super easy to come by, unless I'm talking about the Rams, which then, I do think the Rams are a little bit more open to more versatile corners than, maybe some teams that are going to value the Isaiah Rodgers aspect of it all, like Avieon Terrell for the Baltimore Ravens. Avieon Terrell would have been the first guy I'd go to, or Colton Hood. Like, I think this is just a team that needs to focus on continuing to build the boundary corner position. And again, I don't necessarily think there were going to be teams that are ballsy enough to trade up. So we're going to go Avieon Terrell, cornerback out of Clemson. And again, for people who missed the start of the episode or not looking at the description, Jermod McCoy considered returning and is going to be in the 2027 mock. So get excited for that. But at number 15 for the Dallas Cowboys, you traded down, ended up recomping. You sent a 3rd round pick as part of that trade down and got pick number 47. Again, Dante Moore returning in this. Jeremiyah Love makes a little more sense now. I didn't think he would make sense at number 12 because, first off, you've had great return on investment for lower value running backs on this team. Like, you just don't need to invest in order to get a ton of value, but it makes sense. You did miss out on TJ Parker. I do think at pick number 25, there's going to be plenty of fish in the sea, so to speak, to where I don't feel the need. Now, Clev Lubin, to be fair, he is better than the majority of these guys in terms of just being more NFL translatable. Now, Keldrick Faulk, rest in peace to friend of the show, friend of mine, Marshawn Nealand. If you guys want to see, how I ended up reacting to that, my thoughts on the situation, I have a video that I ended up attaching that to. If you guys do want to see what I thought about it, you guys don't, that's perfectly fine. But he was a friend of mine, talked to him like on average once a month. And so, obviously his loss hit pretty hard, but this isn't a pity party here. I do think that there is that role for a little bit of a bigger edge to step in. Keldrick Faulk via trade down does make a lot of sense based on reality. I think Keldrick Faulk is a very solid player. I do worry about the fact that he is consistently flirting with being a D tackle and being an edge rusher at that weight, but because he is kind of fluctuating between like 280s, 270, and it's like kind of just like choose which one. But I do think Keldrick Faulk is a very reliable player, and this team needs to get reliable at edge. And people think Keldrick Faulk is a top 15 player. I blend my opinion and my board with realism, and the realism is consensus. And so I'm going to end up doing that. We're going to go Keldrick Faulk. He's going to test well enough, and I think he's a talented enough player for sure. He's young. He's talented. Like, he'll go at this range. And again, it does fit kind of something the Cowboys had as a vision for the long haul on their team. So we'll end up going with that. Number 16, Carolina Panthers. Corner is open for me, but Colton Hood could be a good selection here. I love corners, but I do think Colton Hood is someone at least worth considering in this range. Keith Abney doesn't have the athletic upside, in my opinion. Some people want to talk about wide receiver, but if you guys want to get an after the catch threat, personally, as much as I love Makai Lemon, Denzel Boston, I have a Chris Bell as well. I hate how PFF has him this low because it always makes me forget about the guy. But like, if you want to go after the catch, I mean, you could even talk about Bryce Lane as a big guy, but there's a lot of options here. If you want to even go for a super dark horse on day 3, Eric McAllister has had some crazy performances where it's like almost 250 yards plus. But at 6'3", he's actually really good after the catch. I've seen him several times in person, and it passes. Skylar Bell, got to give him a shout out as well. Bottom line, there's a lot of options there to be able to complete that wide receiver core. I know there's some people who want to look at the offensive line. Linebacker, I get it, but I personally regraded Sonny Styles. I think you really need to have a solid defensive coordinator to maximize that value. That's just where my head's at. Now, if you can end up trading down here, like for a team that wants Jeremiyah Love, I think that would be a smart move. Dark horse is the Niners, excuse me. Like, to be fair, CMC is not averaging above 4 yards per carry, but that's not going to happen. Super dark horse pick there. But the Bears could try to make a move for Jeremiyah Love. It is a bad running back class. It is kind of one of the few things they need to go for, but that's just such an expensive move. I don't think that's a good move. I don't think it's a good move. So we're not going to do that. That's just, again, you have to evaluate how much is it worth? Because I was talking about the Chiefs. I'm not going to spend a 3 and a 1 for a running back. But I'll be willing to probably spend one if it just ends up falling into my lap there. But for the Panthers, boundary corner, again, Colton Hood is a very intriguing option. But at the same time, I do think getting another consistent edge rusher has paid huge dividends for this defense. And with Princely there, I want Princely as a rotational DPR edge 3. I want somebody who can end up being a bit more reliable versus the run to pair up with Nick Scorton. And I love Clev Lubin for that. He's been phenomenal. And again, don't out yourself as an idiot for saying, oh, he's number 148. Don't be an idiot. I hate to say it. I mean, just like my board has some players that I have an asterisk on there that I'm still getting to, PFF also does not update this every single day. They don't update their opinions every single week. This is an outdated opinion. I can promise you. Listen to the pod of NFL Stock Exchange. You will hear them bring up the name Clev Lubin. So please, just gonna be honest. Don't out yourself as an idiot. He's not number 148, but for me, Clev is number 20 on my board. And I do think with the physicality he brings, even at 250, I don't think he's 250. I think he's about like 255, 260. He is awesome. I'm going to have the pleasure of seeing him in about a week in person, so maybe my opinion will change. But at number 17 for the Kansas City Chiefs, I'm going to be going after Jeremiyah Love here. If you're not going to spend a third-round pick on Breece, it does make me question whether you'll spend a first on a running back. But if you are basically sitting and picking, you're getting 5 years of running back production versus having to pay one. I think that could be the difference maker. Now, I'm surprised because the Chiefs still can be in contention right now that they're not willing to spend a third-round pick on Breece, because I do think it just elevates your team a lot, even if it's just for 1 year. But they have a vision, and we're going to see it through. We're going to go Jeremiyah Love here and have the young guy end up being the future. At number 18, San Francisco 49ers. Really good options here. Honestly, I would like to trade back. When you have Makai Lemon available, Makai Lemon, and then also Chris Bell, you got KC Concepcion, like Denzel Boston. You got to make some moves for a wide receiver. There are some teams in here that need to go after a weapon, and I can see wide receiver going at the next 3 picks. So there needs to be, even if they're going to be in this range, they need to start looking. Again, the Rams could get ballsy, try to go after another wide receiver. I'm not going to do that necessarily. I do think they could also try to move up for a corner if they wanted to, but that's going to be more around the Bears pick, where I would end up trying to trade up for something like that, or, around the Buccaneers pick. But that's a conversation for that time. I'm not going to do that. I do think, because I was thinking, okay, maybe we can end up moving up with Tennessee, right? You could end up flipping both those picks for 18 and 50. You end up getting Ruben Bane, and you end up getting some really good players. Honestly, it's not a horrible idea. Like, if you think about the value of that, you could end up actually netting positive by getting more picks if you are the Tennessee Titans. Like, if you end up giving 32 and 65 would probably be enough to get that. Well, no, that's a little too expensive. But like 1850 for 32, 33, pretty sure that's about an even exchange as well. They're moving back the Niners 14 spots, and then you're asking them to move up 17. Like, honestly, it should be even more weighted towards the Titans. But if I'm the Niners, I'm looking at quality developmental offensive line talent, and that's going to be available at 32. And then I'm also looking at maybe another quality edge rusher, and that's what I'm going to want to target at 33. I don't really think that offensive line is going to be all that important for me at 18 based on the guys available. And then at 50, I'm probably going to go after the guy who I won't be able to get at 33. So I'm going to make a mutually beneficial deal here. The Titans end up making their move up and, again, recomp their picks. They already ended up taking Ruben Bane Jr., and they ended up taking top-tier weaponry here at this spot. And the question is, who? Do we go Chris Bell for an A.J. Brown 2.0? That'd be kind of fun. I would not go Makai Lemon because I think that he's a little bit more slot specific. I love him to death. Denzel Boston could be a true one, and I love the contested catch capabilities. And then KC Concepcion has the return abilities. Again, I'm talking about a lot of teams right here, back to back to back, are going to be going wide receiver. So we have to make this move. The question is, which one do we want? Now, I like the deep threat capabilities of Kyle Maynor. I think that he's going to be really, really fun and almost to the point where I don't want to look at Denzel Boston. Returnability, it wipes out KC Concepcion off the table because I think you guys have a really good one, Chimp DK. So it's down pretty much to Chris Bell, and you could talk about Denzel Boston here. And I freaking love Chris Bell. 6'2", 220. Again, you're getting A.J. Brown essentially back. Great after the catch, but he has a big, bulky build. And if you don't like it, swap it with another player that's going to be taking the next few picks. So Chris Bell going to be the selection there for the Titans. At number 19 for the Browns, first pick, Fernando Mendoza. You could try to get cute and just go down the board and get Surratt and Omar Cooper in like the third round. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go after just a reliable every down threat here, Makai Lemon. He's going to basically be Jerry Jeudy for this team, like what you wanted out of Jerry Jeudy. Also, I'm taking him away from the Steelers because that would be my dream pick for the Steelers would be Makai Lemon. At number 20, the draft's in Pittsburgh. Again, Dante Moore, Jermod McCoy considered returning in this. Again, I'm going to put it in the description so you guys can't really get mad at me for it. You can only get mad at yourself. Wide receiver or corner are going to be the positions I look at here. Again, Denzel Boston, KC Concepcion, like you can't go wrong. I mean, I think I have KC as well as Denzel, like literally next to each other. So I have Denzel 25, KC at 28. And honestly, KC probably should be bumped up even more. So fantastic players, both of them. I do think KC, like he's someone who can play the boundary. So I really, really love like how his transition has just gone phenomenally well. His deep threat ability there. And again, the return ability, like I'm looking at our returners right now in the back of my head, and a lot of it is running back based. I want to have someone who could threaten, and that's what KC Concepcion can do. Again, Denzel Boston is a pick I've made before. You cannot go wrong. But I do think with KC Concepcion, if you want to go after more of a possession style receiver like Elijah Surratt at like pick number 98, 84, you're not going to be mad. So I'm feeling very comfortable with that. Again, I really do like what we could get out of Colton Hood here and maybe what wide receiver we could try to get at 52. But these are just dominant receivers, and we need to just solidify the offense, kind of get it done for good. We've been bringing in a lot of really quality veteranship at corner, so it looks like veterans like us at corner. Maybe it's a position we can continue to address that way. KC Concepcion, the selection there. At number 21, we have the Buffalo Bills. And, I mean, the easy pick here is Sonny Styles. It makes a lot of sense, but I'm not going to do that. Instead, I do think this team needs to make a move for a receiver. They've tried, and they failed. So looking at the guys who can end up working on this team, Chris Brazzell, I don't think he's worth a first-round pick. So I'm not going to do it. I could try to trade back. I actually ended up talking about this, thinking about the Rams here. You end up having the Rams move up and then end up selecting Colton Hood before, you go to the Cowboys selection and they start looking at a top tier edge or top tier corner themselves. I mean, there's the Eagles as well that should be trying to get some moves on, especially for a player of the caliber of Colton Hood. And honestly, if I'm the Bills and I'm looking at linebacker talent, I mean, it's not like you have the 2 out of the 3 teams I'm worried about taking linebacker. All of them are going to be after the Eagles pick. Technically, the Patriots would be a prime target here. But the Eagles, I do think they have enough draft capital to where like I feel like 29.69 for 21. I think you guys ended up getting something back as well. You guys can end up like trading 99 and getting 85 back. Feel free to mess around with that in your own heads. But I feel like that's going to be the way that it works the best. Again, you sent a 3rd round pick for Jalen Phillips. It's worked out. Love that for you. And so with that being done, I feel very comfortable with the Bills making this move, getting that extra pick there. And again, kind of like recomping their picks. The Eagles making their move and taking a corner here. Again, Jermod McCoy considered returning in this. Colton Hood, cornerback out of Tennessee. I do worry about a lot of these teams in this range being willing to trade down and not many top tier corners available. Again, for the Rams, that was kind of what I wanted to do as well. But the Eagles, it's kind of hard to pass up on an early 3rd as part of that deal. At number 22, we have the Chicago Bears. I mean, honestly, Chicago, really good spot. Like overall, I think this is another great spot to try to trade down. With Denzel Boston here, you should be trying to like pick up the phone and see if there's anybody looking for offensive line, or excuse me, receiving talent. Speaking of offensive line, though, you got Vega. You also have technically Dunker, but I also want to toss in Emanuel Pregnon. Like those are guys who I think absolutely are going to be taken within the next few picks. You also look at the offensive tackles: Kaden Proctor, Caleb Lamu, Caleb Tiernan, Trevor Gooseby. I know for a fact one of them is going here at 24. The question is who? And, there is going to be a lot of speculation over the future of Ozzie Trapilo. I don't think they'll give up on him that early. I think there's going to be some level of arrogance in that aspect. The Patriots could try to get aggressive for right tackle. I think they have enough issues to where they don't need to do that. But I do see like the Chargers trying to maybe jump and end up going after interior offensive line if the Lions were into it. And then technically you can also talk about the Seahawks going after offensive line. The Niners also now have their respective picks they can end up leveraging and end up going after offensive line. But I do think when all is said and done, I don't think there's enough players and enough talent here with the teams in proximity to garner said trade. Like it's just very hard. I mean, there is Sonny Styles here. Is there a team that could be looking at a linebacker trying to jump the Buccaneers? You guys know me. I'm a sleazy ass dude when it comes to this. I mean, like, I might end up actually making a move for Sonny Styles. I'm not going to do it. Bears, I think what you're going to have to do is just stick and pick. And you look at edge, and none of these guys fit Dennis Allen's prototype, have like the 260 plus, except for Zion Young, 6'5 plus. And I've done that so many times, I think it's actually like kind of boring. I'm going to go a little bit wired, and I'm going to look at defensive interior. Because your nose tackle is shit. You guys ended up showing that you guys need it by going after an aging veteran at nose tackle, Grady Jarrett. It has not worked. And Kayden McDonald is going to be a first-round pick. People who are already starting to catch on, he was an absolute baller last year when he was basically being a backup for Tyleik Williams. He's an absolute stud. You can try to snipe one at 54. I will be honest, there are going to be a lot of players that I do try to snipe around that range. So it is pretty low probability based on the fact that I'm taking Kayden this early that these guys are going to be remotely there. So we're going to go Kayden McDonald, defensive interior at Ohio State. He's young. He's going to be dominant. You guys you passed on Jalen Carter before. So don't pass on young, talented players. Like I'm just saying, not saying it's the equivalent, but I'm just saying do not pass on young, talented players just because of like some type of X factor, which Jalen Carter had the, possibly killing somebody aspect, but Kayden McDonald, it's just more so the stigma of a nose tackle, which, you see a lot of teams that have a lot of success when they have very good nose tackles, and it's, pretty hard to stop the run when you don't have that. Number 23, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm running this one to the podium. Simple, easy. Sonny Styles, linebacker, Ohio State. I do think that in the wrong system, he's an absolute bust, but I think he's very, very, very situation specific. This is a situation I trust. I don't trust his eyes in zone. I think he plays a lot more like a safety at linebacker. I'm surprised at his 0% missed tackle rate because he does not have the best pursuit angles. But I think he's a very good linebacker with excellent athleticism at a great size. And I think Todd Bowles would absolutely love him and maximize his capabilities. 24, Detroit Lions. Kenyon Sadiq still available too, by the way. But again, there's been some frustration NFL-wise, according to Todd McShay, as well as in the building. I don't think, there's a strong chance he slips to late one. And, you could talk about him in this range as well, which sucks. I really like Kenyon Sadiq. But Lions, I was talking about it. I think they're going to go after offensive line, especially that left tackle spot. Kaden Proctor is a very, very fun option, a very fun option. But I don't think that's what they'd end up actually targeting. Kaden, the problem with Kaden is that you just don't know if he's going to play guard or tackle in the NFL. Technically, it's the truth of Lamu as well as Tiernan. Gooseby is the one that has more of a chance to play left tackle. And I know that they don't care about arm length. It's going to be more so based on just actual full skill. And that's why I really love Caleb Tiernan. This team doesn't care about arm length. Caleb Tiernan is just rock solid, reliable. He's a super consistent tackle. Now, I would try to trade before, taking him here just because of that fact. And you look at the Cowboys here again, just trying to, I keep lurking all the players I want for the Cowboys, by the way. Not on purpose. It's just, I treat every team equally. And, well, I know the Cowboys would have been a team to go after corner. So I ended up taking the corner from them. You do have Keith Abney here. I don't think, well, actually the Cowboys are a pretty good team for Keith Abney. It's probably what I'll end up going with for him because I do think they need boundary corner help at a very underrated rate. But if there's a team that would be looking at that, the Rams. Hold up. We finally got the Rams at corner. I really love Keith Abney. He's not going to test out through his mind, but Abney is my number 23 player on my board. It's fitting to take him here at 24. I think it would end up taking just like pick 140 as part of this deal. Maybe a little bit more. We might end up sending 91 and getting 124 in return. I think that's relatively fair. You move back like 30 spots. They move back 3. Ugh. End up tossing in something else for him. We'll toss in like a future 5. It ended up being like a pick 170. So we'll end up doing that. The Rams end up sending their pick and end up recomping their range. But the big issue for the Rams is they drafted a tackle is that they still need corner pretty badly. Again, Jermod McCoy considered returning in this. Feel free to stay till this weekend to see him in 2027 mock draft. But Keith Abney going to be the choice there. At number 25, I've done everything I can to screw over the Cowboys. It's y'all's turn. I've given you guys so much love at this point that, it's time to kind of just discuss how we can end up maybe causing a little bit of havoc for y'all. A right tackle is not a bad position to target, like for the long haul. Again, you could try Caleb Tiernan there at right tackle. I've been a big supporter of it. Doesn't need to happen. But we already got our edge rusher there in Keldrick Faulk. Again, just kind of fits the archetype. Now, you could try to... I saw this recently, and honestly, I hated it when I first thought about it, but makes a little bit more sense now since we have that second-round pick. Going after another edge rusher. David Bailey has off-field concerns. He ended up assaulting a cameraman this past year, and then he also ended up curb stomping a dude on the field last year. So do your own research on that. I have it posted if you guys want to see the information behind it, but I'm sure there possibly is even more for you to find out. Let's look at my board and see the players that I love. So I love Caleb Tiernan, Malachi Lawrence. Those guys I don't necessarily see for the Cowboys here. Looking at the next player, Emanuel Pregnon, I don't think that the Cowboys will be interested in him, but it's certainly possible. Christian Miller, again, doesn't really match up with the fact you brought on Quinnen Williams. But, definitely a name to at least consider. Dylan Thieneman, he's not going to test out well enough to be worthy of this pick. And then, again, it's not a good spot to be in. With Kenyon Sadiq here, I do think there is a possibility of teams trying to get a little bit aggressive. I know New England, if I have Kenyon Sadiq there, I'm taking him all day, every day. I might just try to make the move up with the Patriots right now just because I know what I want to do with the Broncos. I'm going to do it. The Broncos are going to be calling. The Cowboys are going to say, oh, first off, send your pick over to the Jets, please, and thank you. I don't know why that wasn't there in the first place, but we're back. Again, we don't have that third round pick. It happens. I will be ending up doing a deal with the Patriots because I'm having the Broncos and the Patriots calling. And it's like, hey, what do you guys think of this? And again, it's a very similar range, Detroit, LA. I'm going to do a very similar trade. I'm going to ask for 92, get 112 back. And, I do think actually that's a 30 for a 3 spot. You can end up trying to play some extra magic in here. I'm trying to see like maybe they give up 167, 151. Again, just do a small move up. We'll end up doing that deal right there. The Cowboys and the Patriots end up engaging in a trade, and the Patriots end up moving up for a superstar here in Kenyon Sadiq. The tight end room is not secure for the long haul. Again, linebacker in round 2 going to be super crucial, and I really like the value there. You could try to talk about Anthony Hill here. I think Vrabel can get that solved. Guard absolutely can be considered as well, but I really love that at 60 as well. The thing that you won't find is a talent like Kenyon Sadiq that you can end up threatening downfield. You can end up threatening in the short range, and he's a good blocker as well. This is a young piece that you want on your team for the long haul. And again, you have teams that are going to be trying to really push for a weapon like that. At number 26, we have the Los Angeles Chargers, and this one's been Vega. It's going to continue being Vega. I like technically Emanuel Pregnon more, but Vega's like the consensus one. And he's a super high floor pass blocking guard out of Penn State. Just, it's hard to say no to that. At 27 for the Detroit Lions, we traded back and we're going to go after Caleb Tiernan here. He's comfortable with the northern climate. He's going to end up playing left tackle right away. And this team also, their best tackle and the best tackle in the league does not have elite arm length, and neither will Caleb Tiernan, but the skill is there. He just feels like he can end up sliding in day one and end up producing very, very well. 28 for the Dallas Cowboys. Again, we ended up making that trade, moving back. This is where I feel comfortable going after a linebacker. We're going to go after Anthony Hill Jr., linebacker out of Texas. Pair him up with DeMarvion Overshown for the future. You guys ended up trading a 7th-round pick for, what's his name? Peyton. I keep wanting to call him Peyton Wilson. Why am I tripping up? Bengals linebacker. You guys know who I'm talking about. But you guys sent in a 7th-round pick for him, and so it's pretty obvious that the need is there. 29, Buffalo Bills. Anthony Hill was kind of my dream target here, but still plethora of very, very good options. And one of them still being in my top 15 being Dylan Thieneman. So I don't think that's a bad move for this team. And people who want to say Dylan Thieneman's ass, woo, you guys do not know ball. This man is fantastic. Just let him pretty much roam as a free at this point. If the ball's in front of him and the players are in front of him, there's not many better players. Denzel Boston just feels a little bit too similar to the current situation, which is like Keon Coleman. I do think that he'd have a similar role to Keon Coleman. Technically, defensive interior Christian Miller would be kind of nuts. You get Ed Oliver back. You have Deon Walker doing well. That'd be really, really fun. But there's good options everywhere. I do think linebacker still is possible with CJ Allen. I'm not going to pull that trigger. I feel very comfortable with the fact, even though we ended up losing out on how far we lost out on Sonny Styles and also Anthony Hill. Like, that sucks. But that's a risk you take for getting extra draft capital like that. And I feel very comfortable with the fact that we ended up moving up, getting that draft capital. I feel very happy with how that ended up turning out for us. We could go Chris Brazzell here and just get that deep threat. I feel like we would end up, there's not really many other players who have that deep threat ability on that level. There's Nyck Harbor, but we're going to have him return as well. A lot of people love Chris Brazzell. I don't think he's a first-round pick. A lot of people do. If you're going to pair him up, it's either going to be Drake May or Josh Allen, where I think he has the best career. So this team does need to have that very slippery. You have like Nicole Harmon right now, but get your MVS essentially and end up just getting someone who could really threaten deep. At number 30, Denver Broncos. So, again, tried to trade up multiple times in my head, did not end up getting said trade complete. But honestly, there's not many positions that this team is that desperate for, in my opinion. I feel like you just go after wide receiver. Look at Denzel Boston, kind of get, Cortland Sutton 2.0. I feel very happy with that. Tight end wise, I just don't think there's a tight end that is worth this number 30 pick. Again, Kenyon Sadiq was just kind of that option for me. I wanted to trade up for him, which is why Patriots fans are going to be pissed, because they're going to say, well, we didn't need to trade up. But I can guarantee you, I was very, very convinced that I was going to take him there. You could go CJ Allen, put him with Vance Joseph. I don't think that's a bad idea. But, defensive interior, the value is there with Christian Miller. I'm not going to do it, but I do think it's a very good option. Do we have someone who could play center? Like, that's my question, because I want to replace Wattenberg. Honestly, you could just try to... Jennings Dunker does feel like such a Denver Bronco. I'd have to trade out of the first for a Jennings Dunker, though. There's no way in fucking hell that I'm going to do that. I'm not going to take him there. But we do have the Saints. And the Saints went Arvell Reese, and they're trying to help out their quarterback as much as possible. That's not a bad idea. The Jets could also be in on this party, but we already traded multiple ones. I don't feel very comfortable with that current situation, with how that would end up turning out. Hold on. The Jets could end up actually masterminding the fuck out of this too. That would be, technically speaking, I could feel pretty comfortable with the defensive interior that I get 37. But Denzel Boston is just in a different tier. There's a reason why I'm taking so long with trying to get Denzel Boston off the board. He is in a different tier than the wide receivers remaining. And the next pick, I would be taking Denzel Boston. So The question is, for the Broncos, do I want to end up recomping my picks 30 and 62 for 37 and 44? It's not a bad idea because Jennings Dunker will be there. I feel very confident in that. Well, no, he won't. He'll be there at 37. Then you end up moving up as well. And then for the Jets, I know there's going to be some good defensive interior value there. There's going to be some good safety value at 62. I think this is a mutually beneficial trade. Let's make it happen. New York Jets, 37-44 for 30 and 62. Hell yeah. Make that happen. And then no team loses picks. But the Jets, first pick, Ty Simpson. The one type of player you don't have, because you have essentially your Chris Brazzell with A.D. Mitchell. You have your short-range separator, and I mean, honestly, gadget super weapon, and Garrett Wilson. You don't really have a strong possession receiver. This completes your offense. And you don't lose any picks to do that, except for one of them. But number 31, Seattle Seahawks. I've done everything I can to screw you guys over too, but you guys are sitting here strong as could be. I'm going interior offensive line, and I'm going after my number 12 player in the entire class, Emanuel Pregnon. Again, do not be a dumbass and look 253, bro. Why are you taking him at 30? Don't do that. Don't do that. You're smarter than that. I know you're smarter than that. Emanuel Pregnon's awesome. Go watch him yourself. This guy is a freak at guard. He was really good at USC last year and showed a lot of the pieces I was looking for. And I'm like, I don't think he's put it together to be an NFL player yet. And then everything just came together. Similar to Carnell Tate. It's like, whoa, hello. So I'm going to go Emanuel Pregnon there at 31. He is up there as probably one of the best guards that I have studied in terms of the growth year over year. Number 32, San Francisco 49ers. We have back-to-back picks, but you'll have to stay tomorrow for that other one. I mean, honestly, this is pretty simple and easy for me. This is Kaden Proctor all day. I'm not going to have you guys wait till tomorrow to know about Kaden Proctor, but he's going to play that guard role for you as you end up training him to be the tackle that he's supposed to be. I love that. Talk about a story, a match made in heaven. Super happy with that. Hopefully, I know that you guys aren't going to be perfectly happy. That's the whole entire point of having a mock draft. It's fun to have these experiments, but thank you again for watching. I'll see you tomorrow for rounds 2 and 3. See you later.